What comes to your mind when you hear the term Septimont? Gladiating, hunting, or if we talk about the characters, Augusta, Juno, or Lupa, right? But even in this land full of heroes and brave gladiators, a picture which Septimont constantly tries to portray, there are people who actually hate the gladiators and their way of work. And there are also those who were never fortunate enough to gain the blessings of fate, despite dedicating their whole life to gladiating. About the latter, one such is Aeolus. Aeolus, just like every other Septimontian, has always dreamed to be a hero, has tried to live his whole life as a gladiator that will stay true to the teachings of Septimont. However, he was not like your typical gladiator. He did not have that genetical brute strength that comes with every Septimontian gladiator or the resolve to jump straight onto death when necessary. Aeolus was also the seventh opponent Augusta faced. He was obviously defeated. He feared Augusta when they crossed blades. He was also there when Augusta faced the lion beast alone, but he was scared of the beast, so he chose to treat his wounds at the camp instead of aiding Augusta. In Septimont, if you are not brave enough to take action during such times, if you do not jump straight onto your death for some faint glimmer of glory and for the so-called brighter future of Septimont, many look down upon you. Now let's trace back a bit to the past. Remember when Augusta was fighting Arsinosa? While everyone in Septimont were eagerly awaiting to see the victor of that fight, many dark-tide anomalies started appearing on Sanguis Plateau. To handle that, Master Cato, Augusta's mentor, was sent there. Surprisingly though, Aeolus followed him too. This is not totally random. After all, Aeolus wanted to get recognized by the legendary gladiator himself, just like any other rookie gladiator would. Despite being weaker in both the strength and battle resolve, he always had the obsession, the drive, and the passion to be stronger. Even though Augusta, who still went through a lot to get recognized by Cato, Aeolus, on the other hand, never got the recognition. Instead, Cato called him a person without any talent and without any resolve. As Aeolus followed Cato into the Sanguis Plateau to fight against the Dark-Tide creations, they stumble upon a village getting ravaged by the monsters, among which Kerosor, a monster that can adapt to a Resonator's attribute and is advised to be fought with at least two people, would later arrive to have a face-off with Cato. There, Aeolus saw a little girl who was about to be killed. He picked her up and started running so that the girl can live. But as he was running away with the girl, he cried, kept calling himself a coward because he was leaving Cato behind. It was also because him aiding Cato in that fight would have granted him the glory he was always longing for, would have made him an actual hero to the eyes of the people in Septimont. But at that day, he threw that chance away to save a little life. After he left Cato, the worst did happen. He died there on the wastelands of Sanguis Plateau against the Kerosor. If Aeolus had fought Cato and had come back alive, he would have probably been the hero he always wanted to be. He dreams about it all the time, yet his true self chose saving a little kid's life over fighting with Cato at that moment. His true self, the one that acted upon impulse, acted to save a life rather than throwing away his own. Yet he always seems to regret that decision. Yet he always thinks that he could have done things in a different way there instead of saving the kid. He keeps calling himself a coward for not aiding Cato. Tell me, does this truly make him a coward, or does it elevate his humanity? If fearing death makes you a coward, not upholding the meaning of life should not make you a human either. It is time for the other person I mentioned, who now hates the gladiators, Master Gran. Gran was the teammate of Cato and one of his really close friends. When Cato died on the wastelands, Gran dug deep into the matter and found out it was due to the former efforts, problematic leadership, and their connection with the nobles, which served as a compromise in providing the support to Cato at that moment, which ultimately did lead to Cato's death. Gran got tired of the corrupted system, so he withdrew from the gladiator ranks with his team. He lost a lot of his comrades because they blindly believed the gladiator motto, born for glory, die for glory, or for the brighter future of Septimont. Most of it was obviously due to the recklessness of the nobles and the previous effort. As a rationalist, he insists Aeolus to leave gladiating after watching how his fate has unfolded over the years. More than a decade passed, Aeolus is still obsessed with his decisions back then, so he never left gladiating. But he never got stronger either. His skills barely improved, his age rapidly caught up. Aeolus was about to be tasked with scouting a Chorosaurus in the wastelands as he is very familiar with that area. That is also where Gran's camp is currently placed. Aeolus meets them where he scouts the area with a girl called Rolla from Gran's team. This was a reunion for Aeolus as she is the same girl he once saved a long time ago, even though Rolla did not realize that until later on. In the process of scouting the Chorosaurus, Gran gives Aeolus an earful in front of Cato's grave, the grave which was in the wastelands where he died fighting. This further pains Gran as he has buried so many of his friends just like Cato and he does not want Aeolus to face the same fate as well. All because of the reckless mentality the Septimon gladiators had cultivated in their mind until the end of previous efforts rule. Gran insists Aeolus on leaving gladiating and joining his team. It was only a realistic advice from Gran, as Aeolus, despite trying for all his life, could not become the gladiator or the hero he once dreamed of, and now he is way too old. Surprisingly, Aeolus listens and submits a withdrawal request from being a gladiator. This would go directly to Augusta herself. But deep down he regrets many choices he made. He hates his own fear and lack of strength. But as humans, we are driven the most and are shaped by everything around us. Similarly, we cannot blame Aeolus for trying to become the very thing his own people aspire to become. Gran was happy to find that Aeolus decided to leave the gladiator ranks, but little did he know it was an ultimatum to his life. He wanted to go out with a bang, like a gladiator would in a fight. He wanted to die trying. Take the Chorosaurus along with him, because that's what apparently is being a gladiator. They will just say he was a gladiator and that's all there is to it. What Gran feared did come true. Rover finds Aeolus fighting the Chorosaurus, but he was already heavily injured. In his final moments, he still kept calling himself a coward for fearing death and resented himself for being weaker than the others, fearing Augusta in their duel, fearing the lion beast, running away from Cato. Yet he also mentions about a dream where he did everything right and earns Master Cato's recognition. On his grave, there was Rolla and a letter from Augusta. Augusta declined his withdrawal request. She acknowledged him as a gladiator and said his glory will live on. As we would expect, Augusta never forgot Aeolus. She remembered how he was her seventh opponent because she never forget the opponents whose blades she carried with her. Would Aeolus have felt better if he had seen this letter? Would he have not chosen to sacrifice himself at the end against the Chorosaurus? There is a saying in Septimon, a person's sacrifice isn't measured by whether it was necessary. If they are a gladiator, if they die while fighting on the battlefield, that's all there is to it, all for the glory of Septimon. Did Aeolus actually become a true gladiator by the end? Was it even necessary? Or was he simply just too obsessed and stubborn, as Gran would say? One line by Aeolus struck me personally. When Rover said, "Power comes at a price," Aeolus replied, "Must be a price too heavy for me." He must have realized gladiating was not his best forte, but he still decided to chase it because he had already done it his whole life, so why not push a little longer? At the end, he did die a gladiator's death, but one not many will even remember. He was in a string of fate he was never meant to escape. This is fate itself. In the world of Wuthering Waves, it was already written for him. The name of the quest, Dream of a Rusted Sword, reflects his character well. A failed gladiator that spent his whole life trying and dreaming but was unable to achieve what he was never meant to. This is S.I.C and I like to talk and post about wuwa on my channel here. Like and sub if you like and stay tuned. See you later.